Peter 5:14. Talk about love makes good impressions today.
Amen.
1 Peter 5:14. This is day 9 in the Love Dare series. Hope you're getting as much out of it as I am. It's really helped me be a better husband. I feel like, I guess I'm not supposed to judge myself, but it feels like it's helped our relationship. And we need help, amen, these days.
Amen.
1 Peter 5:14. It says, greeting one another with a kiss of charity. Peace be with you all that are in Christ Jesus. Amen. Now, do we take the Bible literally? And is this a command? We don't even shake hands anymore these days, do we? But we do greet each other. You know, I've talked about this before. I think back then they didn't kiss on the lips like husband and wife, but a lot of cultures still today, they just kind of touch cheeks, and it's, you know, kind of a kiss. That's what they did in Brazil. You make a kissy sound, but you don't actually touch even their cheek with your lips. You just kind of like that. And you've seen that in movies and shows, and people do that for. Saw a video a couple years ago. I don't remember why it stuck in my mind, but they were showing a group of friends eating at a restaurant, and then one friend would walk in, and he'd have to greet every one of them like that. And then he would sit down, and another person would walk in, and it was showing just kind of how ridiculous it can be when you have to, your culture thinks you have to, you know, but apparently this is how the culture they were in too. But we can still, even though we don't kiss each other in the time of coronavirus, don't even shake hands, we barely hit elbows, we can still be good at greeting each other, and it makes a good impression when you greet somebody and lets them know you care about them and love them.
Right.
And have you ever noticed how good it is when you get really greeted well, how good it makes you feel? A lot of times it's not even by a person, it can be by your dog or pet at home. If you walk in the door and they're so excited to, you know, see you, and they're just going crazy because you finally came home, want to jump in your arms, and you know, the puppy wants to jump in your arms and lick your face, and they're so glad you're home. It just makes you feel really good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Cats, of course, are the exact opposite. That's why they're such bad pets. But, or one of your children, you know, when they get to that age, you know, where they're about to start being a toddler until they outgrow it. When mom or dad comes home and opens the door, and you can hear those little feet running, and they're so excited to see you, and their face just lights up, and they come and give you a big old hug, and man, that just makes you feel good. That's one of the things that makes, you know, children special, is that you know, that just genuine, you know, transparent love they have. They don't hide it. They're not too cool to come running and, you know, sprint full speed to give you hugs. There's just this transparency in their love. You can just see it, feel it, and it shows everywhere on their face. And then when you take it, you can apply that to, you know, broader to just people, acquaintances, and people you work with, and things like that. It's nice if you give them a nice greeting, and, you know, hey, how are you doing today? You know, instead of just what's up, you know, walk off. It makes you a better friend if you learn how to greet people better. People will remember that. That's one of the keys to probably being a better person and a better friend, is how you greet people. If you're in customer service business, if you can greet your customers like that, your eyes light up, hey, how you doing? You know, make them kind of a big deal, you know, because they came to your store that day or whatever. That'll greatly improve you. People will remember that and come back, and it makes a big first impression. That's important.
Right.
And so you can really improve your life and the life of others just by that little thing. Give better greetings. But more importantly, what we're talking about today is in the marriage, or in the relationship, you know, that making a good impression. You know, there's all kinds of different ways. The book here lists some: king's bow and soldier's salute, acquaintances wave, friends shake hands, families embrace, lovers kiss. You know, it's something. It's a powerful way to encounter each other with the appropriate amount of respect and affection and things like that, depending on the relationship and how close it is and the nature of the, all those things. So you give different kinds and levels of greetings, right, to different people. So you could tell a lot, though, about the current status of a couple's relationship by how they greet each other. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
If they're in a big old 3-day fight and they see each other, they're not probably going to have the warmest of, the greetings. But if they're really getting along good and everything's great and things are just right at the top of the charts on how they're getting along, boy, that's a big difference in how they greet each other, isn't it?
Right.
And so you can really tell a lot by how that is. You can see it in their smile, hear it in the tone of their voice, and in the tenderness of their touch or lack thereof.
Yeah.
I can understand why couples don't like showing affection in public, But if your spouse comes home and comes through the door and it's just you two, there shouldn't be a reason why you shouldn't, should have this standoffish, like I'm embarrassed to give you a hug,
Right.
I can see that in public, but in private, that shouldn't be there in a marriage. There's something wrong there if you don't have that affectionate ability to affectionately, tenderly touch each other in that kind of way. And so it's kind of what you would call a litmus test. You guys remember those from science class? A litmus paper or a litmus strip, you can dip it in. And doesn't it turn like pink if it's acid or blue if it's base or something like that? Am I right? Does that sound about right? You need a fact checker. Class. And so they use that a lot. You hear that a lot. And when the president's about to appoint a judge, is he going to give him a litmus test? And my litmus test I give him is, are they pro-life? That's my litmus test for voting, period.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of the politics and everything, the meanness and the hate, and
Right.
the rhetoric, and it's almost election time, and all this violence and screw going on. I'm almost sick of even looking at the news. So most of the time I'll look, and this is a criticism of Fox News, because you look the first, and I'll read the headlines, and if it's interesting, I'll go ahead and read it once in a while. I'm not totally. But then you got to go back I'm talking about on my phone, go past about the first 20 headlines, then you'll start to get to the nation's news, like there was a fire in California, and there's a shipwreck in Mauritius, and different human interest, things like that. I'm still interested in the news. But then you click on it, and as soon as you click back, guess what? It takes you all the way to the top again. And you have to scroll past 20 headlines. And I think they do that, some websites do that because it gets counted as another view. Right. And their advertiser pays them according to views or clicks, right? So it's kind of a cheaty way. But if you look at almost any other website, they don't do that. When you click back from that story, it takes you right where you were in the page. It just drives me nuts. Anyways, with me, the litmus test is are they pro-life, And I voted, some of my Curtin County, almost always sends some of these little, like, state offices, state senators, state congressmen. We've had Democrats before, but they were pro-life Democrats.
Yeah.
They weren't the kind that wanted to take your guns away and stuff. And I knew them, and I voted for a few of them, so I'm not,
right.
But on the national level, it's almost always straight party Republican, because the Democrats are almost always pro, murder babies. And to me, you don't even have to talk the other issues,
Right.
The other issue, taxes, growth of government and socialism and all that. That's all important, but if they're not pro-life, they already lost my vote anyway, so I don't even have to read the rest of their junk. And man, we're getting some sorry politicians these days.
Yes.
They'll vote not only to murder babies, but anything possibly they can. Yeah. Even if the baby's already born, they'll have the baby already born, but everything but leave the head in the womb and then murder them, and that's fine for that. Even back as far as the Clinton presidency, they were all for that. And it's just outright. And now, of course, you got the governor of Virginia and people like that saying it's okay to go ahead and have the baby and then kill it.
Yeah.
So that proves all along they knew it was murder.
Yeah.
They were just lying, claiming that they didn't think it was part of the mom's body. It's just a blob of flesh. Now they're openly saying it's okay to murder a full-born newborn baby, and they're not all saying that, but trust me, that's what's coming. There's some of them saying it, and it's only going to grow and get worse.
Oh, yeah.
And so that to me is the litmus test.
Right.
But going, and I don't know why we got so gruesome talking about the marriage, but if you go back to a good litmus test of your relationships, how you greet each other. And so if you want to know how's your marriage doing, then watch your spouse. How did they greet me this morning?
Right.
Was it a grumpy, barely acknowledged nod, or was it a warm greeting? And so not only is it a test, though, but it's something you can use to improve your relationship. You can get better at your greeting and work on it and make your spouse feel like, hey, they really, because it's part of human nature that we all need to be accepted. That's just part of us. We want to be loved. They say people that, one of their parents left them when they were a little baby, ran off and never called or wrote, and they don't even know where they are. After all those years, they still have this longing in their heart for that, that bad parent that abandoned them to love them. And it's because it's your nature.
Yeah.
It's not something bad or good. It's just the way we are. We need acceptance. We need to be loved. It's really hard when we go to a place where we're not. If you're the unpopular kid in school and you're bullied and everything, that's a really bad time in your life, isn't it? When you're not accepted. Then we grow older and kind of grow out of that phase where, hopefully most of the kids in your school are a little bit more mature, not constantly have to put each other down to make themselves feel good. Then you're accepted a little more, then you're in a pretty good part of your life. So something that you can do for your spouse to show them some of that approval, some of that acceptance, some of that love that we all as humans need is just by improving and working on the way that we greet them.
Yeah.
It reveals how we already are, but if we work on it, improve it, it can really help and grow that relationship. Instead of a callous greeting, if we can give a caring greeting,
right,
it can cause your spouse to start looking forward to seeing you. And so you can Google this even. There's a lot of marriage research, institutes and blah, 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 lab for marriage. You can Google this, how greetings can affect your marriage. And it's always listed as one of the important things. As both ways we mentioned, as a litmus test to see how it's doing, and something that you work on if you really want to improve your marriage. And so, and we're going to go on and give some more verses and things there, but just some practical things in the way to how to improve your greeting is stop what you're doing and actually go to them. Like if they walk in the door or something. You're in there cooking or cleaning or it's your wife and you're in there busy reading or watch TV or working on the lawn or whatever your job is. Something you're busy with. Stop, put it down, and go to them and greet them in person. And that they say that makes a big difference. Instead of just, hey, from across the house, stop what you're doing and go to them. That makes them feel important.
Yeah.
Give them a hug. Don't just give them a hug. Give them an embrace. A fully committed hug. That's an awesome greeting, isn't it?
Yes.
You just can't go wrong with a big fat hug. And a kiss. Just a good, you don't have to hurt them, but just a good sloppy kiss. Be great.
What kind?
A good one, a 15-second one. There's something called a 15-second kiss experiment. And I haven't taken the experiment. I don't know what it is. It listed it, and there's a link here to follow it if you would wish to, but I didn't wish to.
This is a good lesson, brother.
So, it's from some place called The Fierce Marriage.
Yeah.
Gives you a 15-second kiss experience. So, you married people should try it. But give them a hug and kiss. Express love, compliment, gratitude. Tell them you love them.
Right.
Tell them how happy you are to see them. Yay, you're home. Make them feel like you're glad to see them. You've been looking forward to seeing them all day. They've missed you all. That kind of feeling. Express that verbally. Some people, their love language is hearing it verbally. And so you're trying to hit them all them.
Yeah.
And tell them that. the last thing here is to save the venting session till later. So right when they walk in the door, that's the time. Hey, can you believe what these kids did today? Brennan pulled the cat's tail, threw him on the roof. No, that was Brother Mark. No. Or, these stupid male workers I have to work with don't ever show up on time. They gripe.
Yeah.
The car broke down, or these customers, or my sister-in-law posted something on Facebook, or, she got her braces off, she's always bragging, that kind of stuff. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Whatever it is you got to gripe about, don't give it to them right full barrel as soon as they walk in the door, as soon as you see them, okay?
Right.
That's a good way to have a good greeting, is save that vent till later.
Yes.
You've got time to vent later, over supper or after supper or whatever. There'll be a better time later. Tell them how tired you are, or, whatever the complaint of the day is. That stupid Fox News website makes you go all the way to the top every time you go back.
Right.
You can save that for later, right, Jason Lee? All right. Just to save the Fox News until later. All right. I want you to know that for when you get married. Which may be sooner than you think. I got married when I was 19. How old are you, Terry? Hopefully you're smarter than me and wait till 25. I don't regret when I got married, though. But most people are so immature, and I was among them, that it's really very fortunate Tracy put up with me all these years. I just recently got mature, like a few months ago. So.
You've arrived?
Yes. I've reached a maturity. I remember a preacher that came to Baptist Bible College. We'd have chapel like 2 or 3 times a week, and during his message, he mentioned, Brother Sonny probably remembers this, that you don't reach the age of mature thought till you're 40 years old. Remember that, Sonny?
I think I know where you're going, yeah.
And our friend Mark Roper, he was a blind gentleman with a CNI dog. He turned around and said, "So Jesus never had a mature thought?" And it was all we could do from just busting out laughing during the middle of chapel. I couldn't believe
I'm
it.
glad y'all were really mature.
Yeah. He was one for a quick wit. But then, we were all, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and coming in there and telling us we'll never have a mature thought for 20 more years probably wasn't the best approach to minister to college-age students.
Right.
But, so we got a kick out of that. I still laugh every time I think about him saying that. I miss Roper. He was a good dog. Usually if you go up to somebody with a CNI dog, I say, "Don't touch the dog," because they're working. You're going to mess them up, they're going to run into the middle of the street or something. So they don't want them distracted. But I got to sit behind my class and pet him as much as I wanted. So I was one of the few privileged few that got to pet Roper. I'm still a point of great pride in my life. Like I said, I'm mature now, though. So one of the ways that they would greet in the Bible is as the word shalom. Shalom just means peace.
Yeah.
But they would, like in that verse, talking about greeting each other, that's how these folks would greet in this day, in the Old Testament and New Testament era. With that, with that kiss, they would say shalom, just meaning peace. Peace, long life, peace be unto you, your house, peace to be all that you have. Those kinds of things. Live long and prosper type of greeting.
Right.
And so, no, not even a single chuckle from the Star Trek reference. You guys need to grow up. So, 1 Samuel 25, verse 8. Thank you for the courtesy chuckle, Brother Sonny. Appreciate that. 1 Samuel 25, 6.
Now you're in first.
I'm on a roll up here. Now I'm in 1 Samuel 25, 6. It says, "And David arose and came to the place where Saul had pitched. And David beheld the place where Saul lay, and Abner the son of Ner, the captain of his host, and Saul lay in the trench, and the people pitched around him." That was verse 5. Why didn't anybody stop me? Verse 6. "Then answered David and said to Abimelech the Hittite and to Abishai the son of Zeruiah, brother to Joab, saying, Who will go down with me to Saul to the camp? And Abishai said,
You're not in chapter 20.
Where am I? Why do I even do this?
I just stopped you.
Oh, I'm in chapter 26. I'm going to blame it on my new Bible. It's hard to read.
Are you sure you're in?
I'm in 1 Samuel. I'm supposed to be in 25:6. I'm like, man, when is it going to get to the greeting part? Come on. All right. 1 Samuel 25:6. Hopefully this is right.
Yeah.
And thus shall ye say to him that liveth in prosperity, peace be both to thee, peace to thine house, and peace to be unto all thou hast. And see, you thought I was lying when I was paraphrasing that a minute ago. They didn't really say all that. That's from Star Trek. And that's how they greeted each other, with that shalom. Just, wishing them well in a sincere way, right?
Yeah.
Wishing, what more better thing can you wish to somebody than peace? Peace in your household. You guys don't argue, don't fight, everybody's getting along great. That's great. Peace in your life, at work, in every area of your life. I want you to have happiness, peace, and security. And so it's a sincere, way of just wishing well to them. And so you don't have to say shalom. We should do that. Shalom each other. Sounds good through the mask. But you're sharing a strong 5-second greeting each day with your spouse. It can become a long-term blessing. Okay, it's a great habit to get into, and so it's a lot better to say you're really important to me. You're treasured and priceless to me than just hi. Just basically saying you're tolerated by me, which is more like the cat relationship than the puppy relationship.
Right.
So we hate cats and their relationships. So Jesus noted that even the pagans speak kindly, and I didn't get the verse for this, but even the pagans speak kindly to people they like, They love their kids too. And so if they can be kind to people they like, then a Christian ought to even be better at that, amen.
Right.
We're supposed to, of course, be humble and, even be kind to our enemies.
Yeah.
So, when you think about it, try to put it in the perspective of how do you greet people that is not your spouse? Have you ever noticed sometimes you can treat other people better than the people that you love?
Yeah.
Strangers, give them a better greeting, be more friendly, and they come home and be all grumpy, to the ones that mean the most to you, that you love the most.
Right.
Has that happened to y'all? Are y'all mature enough to admit it, Brother Sonny? He admits nothing. He stands behind the mask and hides his true feelings. So we sometimes do that, though, don't we? Sometimes we do it a lot. Has your wife or husband ever said, why do you treat them better than you treat me?
Right.
Got one right, a couple of nods, several non-committals. I've been accused of that before, not more than once, I'll admit, and it was true. You tend to put on your best face when you're with a stranger, somebody you don't know that much. We went to South Carolina for Josh's and Kristen's. They had their gender reveal party. We're having a baby boy grandson. I'm really excited about it. We were around Kristen's family, went over to her mom's house 2 or 3 times, and we've met them, of course, and talked to them a few times, and they're really sweet, good Christian folks. And so, but when you're around company like that, and family, you're definitely on your best behavior, aren't you?
Right.
You don't want to go and, throw a hissy fit about, you didn't season the meat properly, or, you're not going to do that in front of them. You're going to be Mr. Cool and Mrs. Nice and friendly and help with the dishes and everything you can, and then be mean when you get home in the privacy of your own home. And so, unfortunately, it's true that we do that sometimes, but it shouldn't be, should it?
Right.
We should treat our wife or husband or our loved ones 10 times better than we treat anybody else. So sometimes we get accused of that, and it is true sometimes we do that, but it's not right. When we encounter, an acquaintance, a friend, a coworker, or whatever out in public, hey, how you doing? We ought to be much better at greeting our spouse, making them feel better. Amen.
Right.
So it can be just as simple as when you wake up in the morning, the look on your face when you get in the car. I read something else I was getting ready to, and it was talking about a healthy relationship, the Gottlieb Laboratory on Marriage or something like that. A healthy relationship should have 5 positive interactions, at least for every negative interaction. And so, I don't know where they get this or how many people they studied for this, or if they just made it up because they got paid for writing a good article, but assuming that that's true, okay, we're just gonna assume, not argue with the numbers for now. And it was saying the kind of negative things that can really, punch a hole in that is just something like a facial expression, like rolling your eyes at something that they say.
Right.
And that can be so much more negative than even saying something mean, just that eye roll. You just dismiss the value of their opinion or whatever they said or how they're feeling. That means nothing to me,
Right.
And so just, how they say gestures and body language conveys a lot more than verbal language. So, but if that's just assuming that's true, you need a 5 to 1, then we need to work a lot harder at being positive, don't we, than to catch up with the occasional negative that we are, because we are sinners and we're not perfect and we do get grumpy and it's hard not to show our real feelings. If we're grumpy, it's hard not to show it to our spouse because we're so close, right? Instead of hiding it like we do in public. But even though they can tell you're grumpy, you can still treat them kindly, amen?
Yeah.
But just, things like, wake up in the morning and your first greeting of the day, the look on your face when you get in the car, the energy on your voice when you're on the phone. I don't know if you guys have ever had any customer service phone training. They say when you're on the phone, you're supposed to smile because it comes through in your voice. Have you ever heard that before? That's what they say.
That makes sense.
And it's not easy to do. When they call you, how much is a dozen donuts? That's $20 or $5, however much it is. How much is a dozen donuts? Is anybody else getting hungry? Shouldn't we as a church be benefiting from one of our members working at a donut?
I think so.
We've been begging Brother Pallone for decades for free stuff. I've never even seen a Twinkie from that man. So we're depending on you to come through for us, Mr. Now, glazed are okay, but man, okay, I need to stop from gaining weight just talking about it.
Chocolate covered.
Yeah. Boston cream pies, is that what they're called? They're like filled with custard with a chocolate top.
Just Long John.
Long John's. What if they're round shaped though?
I don't know. We just feel like
Probably Boston.
They in Missouri they call them Boston cream pies, but I've heard them called other things too. They have different regional names, which you should know all of them. Anyways, you're gonna have to hook us up sometime, but not me. I'm on a diet. All right, so they say though to smile when you're on the phone because it comes through the energy in your voice. They can tell you're being kind.
Yeah.
They can feel it somehow through the phone, even though they can't see your face. And so when you talk to your spouse, talk to them with that excitement, that energy, that showing them you love them through your voice. If everything your spouse sees in you that day, the way you react and the way you greet them and everything is all positive, you're really glad to see them. It'll change their day, won't it? It'll give them a huge boost in their, how happy their day is and how good their day is. So it doesn't cost you very much, they say, to smile, does it? It's free to smile. It doesn't cost you very much to have a nice, walk up when they come in the door and give them a nice hug and kiss and, tell them you missed them, how was your day, that kind of things. That's all free. That just takes a few seconds out of your day, but can have a huge boost, a huge impact on your marriage. And so you make them feel, valued, put wind in their sails or whatever. And if you can do that for somebody that you love, and it doesn't cost you that much, it's just something great you could do. It really helped your marriage. Think about the story of the prodigal son, that son, you can imagine him walking all the way home. He'd already decided, I'm going to come back, I'm going to say, I'm not worthy to be thy servant, or thy son, but make me one of thy hired servant. And you can see him kind of rehearsing as he's walking down the road. Okay, I'm not worthy to be a hired servant. Maybe I should say this. What am I going to, and he's really worried about how he's going to be perceived. Rightly so, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of, fathers would be sorry you're at, we're done. That was your last chance. But instead, what did he get? It says his father saw him a great way off, right? And actually ran to him and just fell on his neck. And what a great greeting. How do you think that made that prodigal son feel? Well, he's been accepted back, hadn't he, in the family. He has he has great worth and value to his father, even though all the mistakes he's done and everything. I call my brothers the prodigals because they moved off to Georgia. So I'm constantly, asking them how the corn cobs taste, and when they come visit, we're going to have to get the fatted calf, and joking about them like that. But hopefully they'll watch this video and see the remark that it's still happening, and even publicly now they're being called prodigals.
Right.
But imagine how that made that son feel, to receive his father's embrace. His father was thankful to have him back. Boy, he was probably overwhelmed and felt loved, didn't he?
Yeah.
Deeply loved. And so, what kind of greetings could you do to your mate to feel them like that? Just make them feel loved and cherished and important. A kinder word, a cherishing touch, a gracious tone of voice. If we could just improve that, you would really, really help your marriage. And so,
Yeah.
you can help them, hear, see, and feel that just with a kind greeting every time you get a chance. Every opportunity you're given. When you come in the door, when you're meeting for lunch, when you're saying goodnight, talking or texting on the phone, you have many opportunities. It doesn't have to be some huge, bold, brash, dramatic move every time, but just add enthusiasm, warmth to it. Make a huge difference. And so you've heard probably this said before, countless widows and widowers would say if they could have just one more chance to greet their, greet, hug, kiss, hold their spouse, hold their hand again, they would just do anything for that one more chance. And so you don't have a guarantee of tomorrow, do you?
Right.
Never know, when your last chance is going to be. So right now, just cherish and enjoy them and give that gift. So how are you? If you had to rate yourself on your greetings, how is it right now? Does it have room for improvement?
Sure.
Do they feel, are you approachable? Do you make them feel loved? Even when you're not getting along very well, you can still let them know that you love them and lessen the tension, help turn things around just by, greeting them the way you greet them. Because love is a choice, right? It's something we decide with our will.
Right.
It's not an emotion that we just flutters up and down. That's the Hollywood hallmark love. You follow your heart type of love. But true agape love is something we've chosen to do, and it's not gonna, it's not gonna go away, just willy-nilly like the, infatuation Hollywood kind of. So if you've chosen that, then choose to love them in your greeting and how you say hi and hello and things like that. So here's your dare for today. Today's dare is to think of a specific way you'd like to greet your spouse today. Do it with a smile and with enthusiasm, and then determine to change your greeting to daily reflect more love to them. So I hope that helps your marriage. And I guess we'll be dismissed. We have about 10 minutes.